Welcome to the all-new Marvel Roundup, the Southgate Media Group's guide to the Marvel Comics of the Week, part of the Enough Said podcast. I am Phil Parrish, and joining me as always is...
Charlie Esser!
Alright, before we jump into our books, I thought I'd get to an email we got this week, Charlie, from our old pal Stockton Piner.
Stockton!
Those of you regular listeners know Stockton, and you probably heard our conversation a few weeks back when Charlie got picked up Thanos #1. That's what Stockton wrote to us about. He says, "Hi, Charlie and Phil." He says, "You said you want a listener to step up and review Thanos #2. Well, look no further. I loved issue 1, and I'm always interested in a good villain book, so I will definitely be sticking with it. I would love to help the show out by contributing my thoughts on this book as well as any others you may not be covering, such as Uncanny Inhumans. I also might be interested in reviewing some of the all-new, all-different titles that have ended, but may have flown under the radar, such as Red Wolf, Drax, and of course Vision. It would be my pleasure to give back to a show that has provided me with hours of entertainment. Marvelously yours, Stockton Piner."
Stockton, you are always welcome in our house. You know that.
Oh, yeah, and if you want to write me back, Stockton, if you want to come on with us live, if you don't have time, you could send audio reviews or just type up an email, however you want to do it, buddy.
We will happily read them, my friend. If you'd like to hear your words in my dulcet tones, just ask, or Phil's dulcet tones, or come in and give the dulcet tones of your own. And we are more than welcome.
And like Charlie and I were just talking about before we started recording, I don't think either one of us is picking up Inhumans vs. X-Men, so if you want to cover that.
Yeah, there's a lot out there, my friend. And that goes out to all our listeners. We have a special relationship with Stockton. He has proven his mettle to us. But if you guys want to step up, as I've always said, if you on any level, written or audio or video even, we have lots of room in the Enough Said universe for everybody. Much like the Marvel universe, we believe in diversity. So more voices, the better.
Oh yeah, I mean, Enough Said has a YouTube channel. But if you want to do a video review, we could get that up on YouTube.
Absolutely. We will help make you famous.
All right, so let's get to this week's books. All right, I guess I'll start with my couple
300
here.
bucks. Yes.
Yeah, I know. All right. I'll try not to be too long on these. All New Wolverine #15. This is, of course, this is Enemy of the State 2, right? I believe that's what they're calling it. Yeah, Enemy of the State 2. So of course, after the whole fiasco with Laura getting gassed, Shield's after her, because they figure she's out of control. But if you remember what I was telling you last issue, her and Gabby are going to Madripoor, and they're going with that old female pirate who, Laura's had encounters with before. But I guess from their talk they're having, she must have known Logan too.
Mm-hmm. And this is a new character, right? This isn't like it's classic female pirate from 1980s Wolverine series.
As far as I know, it's a new character, unless she popped up in like a Wolverine story I didn't read. But she's telling Laura she's sorry about what happened to Logan, and she says he was an above average lover, so was
okay.
Former lover of Wolverine, yeah.
Yeah, well, there we go.
No.
Go right to the blue humor, Marvel.
Yeah.
Real classy.
No. So, they seem like they're, this is an old friend until they get close to Madripoor. They stop like right before the shore, and I guess the pirates sold Laura out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. I guess she was not an above average lover.
So, and then
Laura just didn't swing that way. I don't know.
But after the pirate shoots her in the gut, Laura still takes her down. But Laura looks at the cargo the pirate was hauling, and it's looks like children.
Again with the human trafficking.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
But then the bad guys send in, drop from a helicopter. It's Roughhouse, who I know is an old enemy of Logan's.
Rough House. Didn't he own the hamburger shop in the old Popeye comics?
Uh, he's like a super strong guy. I'm trying to remember if he was like. Don't ask me why, but it's sticking in my head that he was like a not an Asgardian, but like from one of the other realms.
Mm.
Like he might have been like not a troll,
Like a
but
troll or a frost giant.
I mean he looks human, but yeah, it seems like he was like part
Oh, he
troll
might
or
be a
something.
veneer. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
But yeah, but he's working with Bologna and who's the other one? Kimura, who the ones I guess who were like originally like put Laura through the Weapon X training and stuff.
Mm.
So they capture her and they're about to put her through. Well, if the cover of the next issue, it looks like Laura dressed up in Logan's, Weapon X stuff, the big helmet and all that.
Ooh, that's not good.
Yeah, so I guess they're gonna try to reprogram her. But yeah, except for the human trafficking and the sexual comments, it was a pretty good issue. It's a thumbs up.
No, it sounded good. It sounded fun. Sounded exciting.
But I guess I'll jump to Nova #1.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam Alexander is back. But also, as we saw at the end of the last series, Richard Rider is back too. Because it opens up.
Yay!
Yeah, it opens
Richard
up.
Rider.
Yeah, he's talking to his mother, and he discovers while he was missing, his father passed away.
Oh.
Yeah, and then he I don't know if he's hallucinating. He sees his mother. It almost looks like he sees his mother as a rotting corpse for a second.
Ooh, that's not cool.
Yeah, so I don't know if something's up with him, but then there's a funny scene. They switch to Sam in space, and he's defending Ego, the living planet, from some kind of creatures.
Oh, Ego. He's getting such play nowadays.
Yeah, but to save him, I guess he has to like crash a meteor into Ego. Ego's like, no, stop. He's like, Ego has a headache now. But then Sam gets a message, I guess from his mother, because he goes, which way is Arizona? And he goes like, what is Arizona? So he goes home, has breakfast with his family before he has to fly off to school.
How does Ego differentiate a headache from any other kind of ache? He's just a giant planet head.
Yeah, well, he's all head, so I'm guessing any ache's a headache.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. So Sam flies off to school and realizes after he takes off his helmet that he forgot to bring clothes with him. But one of his buddies lets him borrow some old gym clothes. Which Sam gets all flustered in front of the new girl, who I guess he has a crush on.
Oh boy.
Yep. But then he gets the helmet starts beeping, so he has to run back outside, and he's like, what happened? Is this thing broken? And he puts on the helmet, and it says, Nova signal detected. And he's like, what? I thought I was the last Nova. But then he's thinking, Dad. So he takes off after the signal, I guess, thinking it's his father. But then back in, Long Island, Richard Rider's reminiscing, and he grabs his helmet and takes off flying. He goes up in the upper atmosphere, and then he looks like he has some kind of pain, and he starts plummeting.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and there's like almost like a smoke trail behind him, and it looks like there's like, it looks scaly and it has eyes. So maybe he didn't come back.
The smoke trail?
Yeah. So I don't know if maybe Richard didn't come back alone.
Uh-oh. Bum, bum, bum.
But yeah, it was a good issue. I've been waiting for Richard Rider to come back, and
yay. Thumbs up.
Really good. Thumbs up. And I guess one more. I will go to Moon Knight #9.
Moon Knight number 10.
Yeah.
Are the werewolves still on the moon?
No. This one kind of proved me right in a way because we see the the astronaut version of him. He's talking about it. It reveals that all those other versions are basically versions of Moon Knight, and I guess they meet up with the real Mark Spector. But no, the astronaut one. He's like, I joined the space program. He's like, I wanted to be part of mankind's future. But I guess in his reality, it was like, when it started, no one could believe it. They thought it was a super virus. The media started talking about werewolves. He's like, but then the Avengers turned, then the X-Men, and it spread and spread, and we took as many as we could. The moon base was still only in its trial stages. So, he thought he was one of humanity's protectors. And he's like, the real Mark Spector's like, I'm sorry, but none of you are real. And classic.
Says the guy who's not real himself.
Well, classic Moon Knight's like, it's some kind of trick. He's like, who do you work for? Black Spectre, Stained Glass Scarlet, answer me. And Mark Spector's like, I know this is hard for all of you to accept, but if I'm ever going to be whole again, you need to go. He's like, and Classic Moon Knight says, what is this? What were in your mind? What is this? And Marx is like, this might be something else. I'm not sure yet, but before I can deal with this, I need to deal with all of you. And Stephen Grant's like, I was on a soundstage before and all this, and Mark's telling him, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, there is no movie. I think that was just one way of me trying to cope with all the crazy bleep I deal with. And Steve Grant's like, you know me? And he's like, yeah, I've known you the longest. Then like the astronaut one starts like disintegrating, and Classic Moon Knight's like, what did you do? And Mark Moon Knight says, just confronting him did it. He says he wasn't fully formed yet because he's like the newest one. So Mark fights, Mark fights Classic Moon Knight, and I'm guessing kills him when he throws one of the crescent darts into his chest, and he disappears. But then he has to chase down Steve Grant. And Steve's like, I remember everything my whole life. He's like, corn dogs at Coney Island with my dad every summer, seeing Empire Strikes Back for the first time, then sneaking back in to see it again, losing my virginity to Beth Matlin in 11th grade when we skipped English. He's like, so how can I not be real? And Mark says, because it was real, you've always been with me. We've shared our lives together. You were the first. You came to me when I was very young. At first, I thought you were an imaginary friend that I would play with when I was alone at home. He's like, then we weren't playing together. I was you. Then I'd be me again for a while. He's like, then when I got older, Jake came too. Basically, he's just saying, he just thought he created all these alter egos, but then they kind of started becoming more real.
That'll happen.
He's like, I was losing control, losing the real me. He's like, I lost myself. Whoever I was slipped away. He's like, I need to be me again. I need to be healthy. I can't keep doing this. And Steve's like, will I die? And Mark says, I don't think so. I don't think you can. You're a part of me, but I need you to go back into your place. I need to be in control again. He's like, I've been sick my whole life, and I felt ashamed of that. I've tried to hide it. I think that's what the mask really was, another way to hide. But I don't want to hide anymore. I don't want to be ashamed anymore. I just want to be me. I know I will never be cured, but I need to at least find a better way to live with this. And he asks Steve if he'll help him, and Steve says, just promise me you'll find a way to be happy. And Mark's like, I will. I'll do everything I can, and you'll always be with me. Goodbye, Stephen Grant. And they hug, and he says, goodbye, Mark Spector.
Oh.
And then he's alone. And he's like, I'm alone, and it's so quiet. He's like, I don't know how long I've been here. He said, for the first time in a long time, I felt clear-headed enough to do something about it. He says, I know there's only one way this can end. Last page, he puts the mask on, and he says, I have to go back to the hospital and I have to kill Khonshu.
Uh-oh. Bum, bum, bum. Now we're going to find out that maybe Khonshu is just another form of Mark.
Maybe.
Bum, bum, bum.
But
there is no Khonshu, only Mark.
Good issue. Good issue. Thumbs up. I can't wait to see how this turns out.
Sounds great. Okay. So let's go to my first issue on my own. From Moon Knight to Slapstick. Wah, wah. Okay, first off, I gotta say, if you read this, get it digitally. Okay? This is really, really an amazing book digitally. I mean, I was agog. I'm going to be honest with you. I was agog. So first off, quick plot line. We have a new hero in New Jersey. And so we are now all going to be waiting dutifully for the eventual Ms. Marvel slapstick team up.
Yeah.
And they do they do the typical Jersey gag, which is every time they're moving through New Jersey, they throw up an exit sign to show you where you're at. We hate that in Jersey. What exit you from? It's like, really? But what I love about this, okay, so you have this story, and basically what you get is as you're going through your guided view, basically you'll get a scene, and then you'll actually get stuff like just appearing, and you'll get the scene without Slapstick, and then he shows up, and then it is just so cool how they manage these transitions, and it works so great with the character of Slapstick. I just love it. You see him because we see him conjuring his magic hammer named Gertie, and the bunch of criminals that he dispatched with horror and violence. And then you realize he's at Thanksgiving dinner with his family, or with his mom, his dad, his brother and his sister, or maybe his brother and his sister-in-law and their 2 kids. And the kids love Uncle Steve because he's cool. He's a superhero and a cartoon. Who wouldn't love him? And we find out that Steve's brother is has been doing IT for database administration for all these years. Well, now I'm in charge of IT for all of database analysis. That's his big news, and of course, his parents are so proud and Steve just feels like, oh, I'm a merc. Everyone should think I'm cool. And then Portia, and again, I don't know exactly her relationship if she's that's Dick's wife, or if that's Steve's sister. I'm not sure, but she makes the point that maybe he should give up this mercenary life, get a nice girl, get married, raise a family. And then Steve's mom, basically, Steve is Slapstick, says, don't get his hopes up unnecessarily. After all, given his condition, he couldn't perform his husbandly duties, which, gets Slapstick running in and out into a line about, what I say about talking about my dingus at the dinner table. My dingus is essentially the fact that I lost my dingus in the accent that turned me from a normal teenager to a living tune is even sensitiver. So stop talking about my dingus. I'm sick of hearing about my dingus. And the niece and nephew snort and go, dingus. His mom tells him to come back using all 4 of his names. Steve Windsor McKay Harmon, get back here and finish your quinoa. And Dick says, come on, buddy, don't be mad. You got it all wrong. You were never a normal teenager. And Slapstick walks out. He goes to the Merc app, which is the Uber for mercenaries. He still has Deadpool's logins, so he goes to Exit 10, West Orange, to retrieve some stolen merchandise for Parker Tech. Goes to the old Thomas Alva Edison museum and workshop. He wonders if Barb Hazley's phone number is still on the wall. He sees someone snooping around up top, and he goes to attack. Says, "Gotcha! She's your creepery creep." Says, "Who?" And it's Spider-Man. He says, "Who?" "Oh, Slapstick. It's hit you. Been a while. And it says, what's that, Gertie? Yes, the bad man is trying to confuse us. No, we won't let him. Not at all. Instead, we shall make the squishy sounds with the bang bang. And Spider-Man is a little confused. He says, we've met several times. And he said, but Slapstick is having none of it, saying that, he used to know a guy called Scarlet Spider, and he's never met a Spider-Man. It gets wacky from there. And anyway, we basically get this nice team up. Spider-Man does not want to team up, but Slapstick is not letting him not have a team up. Slapstick basically convinces the thugs to essentially shoot each other. And he goes on to basically massacre everyone. And then Spider-Man is trying to keep him from murdering everyone, as is Spider-Man's way. And again, like I said, when you're reading this digitally, you get all these this great thing with the panels just appearing and sliding and moving. It is really really fantastic. Slapstick goes to find who is the brains behind the operation, and to me, this is the best part. Do you know who are the brains behind the operation, Phil?
Who?
Quasimodo.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool because they keep on having him do this like basic programming as he talks. And so it's like 10 if interdimensional interface is X, 20, then unstable molecule is Y. If X times Y, then go to exoskeleton redesign, run. 10, declare soon. None will mock Quasimodo, but instead think he is truly hot stuff. 20, declare many of the Tinder dates shall be mine. Loop, ha 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 ha. 40, input, who dares? And you get this great fight with Quasimodo and Slapstick. It is a pretty cool fight, and then after Quasimodo punches him in the face, he figures he's done, but he goes, "What is this?" And he realizes he's made of electroplasm. And he says, it says 120, if Slapstick is made of electroplasm, then Slapstick is vulnerable to 24 FPS frequency. And he zaps him, and his arm turns to jelly. He goes, medic! But then he realizes that his arm's as bad as it's going to get, so he can use his arm as a shield to clobberize Quasimodo. Slapstick comes down there. Oh, I'm sorry. Spider-Man comes down there and says, "Right here, Scarlet Wonder. This is the missing Parker Industries equipment." Yeah, it says, "Wow, yeah, and then some." Says, "Diagnostics, check out. It's all here." Says, "Great. You'll tell Parker it was me who got all the equipment, right? I don't want you getting credit for this job." And then he says, "Oh wait, actually, tell them it was Deadpool who did it. Long story. You don't want him to hear it." Says, "You got that right. Parker's got to pick up crew on its way. I should go up to the courtyard and meet them. And S.H.I.E.L.D.'s coming to get the Goon Squad. Hopefully they'll flip on whoever they work for." Sounds good. Don't let the hatch door hit you on the way on your way out. That was your best team up yet, I thought. Says, "Not a team up. I guess we'll never know who that masked man was. But the important thing is that he's gone." And we realize that Quasimodo is in a crate, and Slapstick was hiding him. Says, "Before I slip you out the back," it says, "It's safe to come out now, Quasi. I can't believe I mistook you for a villain, just like that other guy. But before I slip you out the back, I'm gonna need you to fix whatever you did to my arm." It says, "Declare such manipulations at the molecular level would be child's play for my genius. But why would Quasimodo provide you aid? Humans have done naught but hound and imprison me, and girls do not return my texts. Why should I repay you with anything but hatred in kind?" Says, "Easy, Quas. I ain't human, not since my accident anyway. But you're just the guy to change that and find me a cure. I'm not trying to pursue or imprison you, buddy. I want to hire you." Line 30, declare, "I am intrigued." Then we cut to Exit 9, New Brunswick, where they're at some, and I guess this is, so we find out what the New Jersey team is, the New Jersey State University, obviously as their Rutgers stand-in versus Empire State. It's the we've got Slapstick with his good buddy, childhood buddy, who's been trying to sell a comic book based on Slapstick's life, which I don't know if he can technically do, because I think technically his likeness when he joined the initiative, probably the rights to his likeness transferred to Marvel Comics in the Marvel universe. It's a very crazy thing. Retelling it, but Slapstick doesn't like his origin story being told because, of course, I just noticed. Well, no, that's a Ms. Marvel shirt, not a Century shirt. Although they do have the same logo on their shirt. Why? Never answered. Slapstick doesn't like the book he's writing because it shows his actual origin, and he's, as a badass mercenary, he doesn't want people to know they had to fight a bunch of clowns to get his origin. But of course, his friend and the nieces and nephews think it's hilarious. That anyone thinks the Scarlet Sentinels versus the Empire State Jackals. That's the name of the Empire State University team, the Jackals. I don't know if that's a new revelation, but I like it because it is funny. The Scarlet Knights, of course, are the Rutgers team, and so Scarlet Sentinels makes sense. We see that a cartoon Viking called Broman, Master of the Multiverse. By the power of Greykin, I demand the champion come face me. The princess's magic show he is here. It says he fights the mascot. He goes to fight the mascot. The mascot dies quickly, which is not cool. And then Slapstick realizes he's going to have to fight this guy. Next Saturday Morning Massacre. Yay! Really liked this book. Like I said, it is a fantastic thing. This infinite comic book, they say. I guess I can buy the second issue early now. I'll wait. That's okay. But yeah, really enjoyed this book. I loved what they did with the digital interplay, and that's cool by me, man. Okay. That was my first book on my own, man.
All right, then, since you did Slapstick, I guess I will do Deadpool 23.
Yay, Deadpool. It's Deadpool.
Yeah, if you remember last issue, Madcap, infected him with that virus where he infected
yes,
Preston's whole family and even Ellie.
Yeah.
So this one opens up at a secret shield facility in Newark, New Jersey, so
hey, my hometown!
Go check it out, Charlie.
Yeah, I gotta go pick that up, man, now, because,
Mm-hmm. So, Agent Preston's getting her LMD body decontaminated, and she's checking on her family, and it's not looking good. They're in medically induced comas to buy some time. And then she goes to see Deadpool, he's sitting in a cell getting decontaminated. And she's talking to her, Preston and Adsit, and Adsit's like, yeah, Deadpool's saying Madcap's, like a parasite in the side of a host body. And Preston's like, how long is it what do we need to get him out of here? And Adsit says, conclusive proof that he's free of the virus he gave everyone. And Preston says, does this facility have a crematorium? And Adsit says, yeah, I don't follow. She says, do you remember at what temperature viruses die? So they throw him in the oven, Charlie.
Yeah, that'll do it.
They get up to 220 degrees, and when the guy running the thing says, well, he's well over the threshold of more than 220 degrees. And Preston says, hang on, I like my idiot well done. So later on, after some skin's grown back, Deadpool's getting dressed, and he's like, he's telling her, we'll put foot to asses and get somebody to talk and find out where Madcap is. He's like, thank Freya, my dead pals are already growing back. And then she says, where are we going? And he says, one of my old stomping grounds, Sister Margaret's School for Wayward Girls.
Yay!
Where he used to get his mercenary assignments.
Yep.
I
saw the movie.
What?
So I saw the movie.
Oh yeah, well, in his first ongoing series, that's where he was had for like the first 20 some issues.
Yep.
So they're at Sister Margaret's. They're at, beating people for information, and so some big guy comes up and he says, "I ain't afraid of you no more, Deadpool. You're all soft. You're an Avenger. People are wearing shirts with your face on it." And he says, "Even if I thought you were dangerous, I wouldn't be afraid with your law dog over there." And Deadpool says, "You got it wrong. I'm protecting you from her." And that's when Preston comes over and breaks the guy's fingers on one hand.
Yep.
So it doesn't seem like anyone knows anything. They show them like going to Hydra, some weird robed guys performing some weird ritual, and
As they do.
and then they're going to they're asking guys at the Hellfire Club, and Deadpool's like, "My women's intuition says they're telling the truth when they say they don't know anything." So Deadpool says we're gonna have to escalate. So they go after more. They start shooting up guys. Preston trashes somebody's car. And Deadpool's like, "Maybe I was wrong. Maybe the virus can't be found on short notice." He says, "If I think like Madcap, he would want to watch me fail." And Preston's like, "Do you know anyone who's put on a couple pounds lately?" And they're both like, "Scott." So they go see Adsit, and Deadpool pulls a gun on him and basically, tells him, "Lift up your shirt." And Adsit pulls up his shirt and nothing. He says, "Happy now? You ever think maybe you drive some people to panic eat?" He says, "What? You were
look at the back."
And he says, "What? You guys were hoping I was infected with Madcap?" And Deadpool starts poking his belly, saying, "Just making sure." Then Preston gets a call and she says, "We're out of time. Let's go be with our kids." And Deadpool says, "Sorry about your telescope." And because he was Adsit was looking through a telescope. He's like, "It's not hurt too bad." And Deadpool says, "You sure about that?" As he shoots the telescope. So then they're back at the Shield facility, and Preston's telling him about her family, and she says how her and her husband only had the son, and she'd always wanted a daughter, and she was so happy when Ellie went to live with them, and she said, "It made being friends with you worth it." She says, "Now look what you've done to us." She says, "Go do whatever needs to be done to undo this." She says, "I don't care what it costs." So Deadpool goes back to the theater looking for Cable because he's screaming, "Cable, Nate!" And looks like no one's there. So he pulls out a business card, Charlie. It looks like a business card. And he goes out to make a call on the payphone. He says, "You said to call this number if I needed a favor. Well, today is that day. I need a cure for a bioweapon now. Problem is, the cure may not exist in 2016. He says, "I don't know what happens now. I don't have much time. Not that it matters to you, I suppose. Find me yesterday." And then a portally thing looks like it opens up, and the mysterious figure says, "No need to answer the phone. Just me bringing you back to get the ball rolling. I've come back in time, and I have what you want. I understand we're on a bit of a clock." And Deadpool says, "First, let me apologize for the remarks I made when you gave me that telephone number." And the figure says, "Huh, Deadpool's desperate enough for contrition, huh?" And the issue ends, Charlie, with Deadpool saying, "I gotta know, what's this cure going to cost me? Strife."
Bum, bum, bum.
He says, "Don't worry, I have a plan for you to work it off."
Eek.
So can't find Cable. Go to his evil clone.
There you go.
But thumbs up.
That's where we have evil clones.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to that later. All right. Then I guess I'll go to Spider-Man 2099, number 18.
Is he back in 2099 now?
Well, he was, but now he's back. He's back from the future.
Back from the future.
Remember,
okay. Future was second.
Yeah, remember him, Elektra, and the future Captain America were tracking down the Fist organization, and I said last issue, I'm like, this guy in the armor looks familiar. It was the 2099 Iron Man.
Oh, okay.
Basically, he was brainwashed by the Fist organization because he says he doesn't even remember his time. He doesn't even remember being from 2099.
Bum
Uh,
bum bum.
yeah, so he's telling them all about his conditioning, and they take him along, so they get on the corporate jet because I guess he says he heard the Fist talking about Chicago, about the environmental expo. So
Uh,
Miguel says, "Get him, grab him. We're getting on the private jet and going to Chicago." But meanwhile, in Chicago, his assistants Raul and uh, Raul and Jasmine are there, and Raul gets, I guess he gets infected with some mysterious woman bumps into him and infects him with something because he passes out. So Jasmine tries to call Miguel. Meanwhile, he's on the private plane, and Captain America's talking to the future Iron Man, and he's saying how he doesn't remember being from 2099. He's like, was I a good man? And she says, yes, as I recall, a good, decent man. And he says, Elektra says he was brainwashed, and Iron Man says, seriously, they can do that? And she says, when it comes to the human mind, they can do anything. That's when Jasmine calls Miguel and tells him Raul was sick. He's in the hospital, and Miguel figures out it's an attack. He's telling Jasmine, he's like, get out of there, come home, get out of there. And she says, no, I'm not leaving my friend in the hospital. I'm not walking out on him because Miguel didn't explain it to her. She's like, I'm staying right here. If you don't like it, fire me. And he's like, great. Everyone I care about is in the hospital. Raul, Jasmine. He says, God, Tempest, is she ever going to come out of that coma? So they got a show, Charlie. Parker Industries Medical Facility. Tempest wakes up.
Okay.
A doctor and a nurse come in, and she's saying, what happened? And they're like, oh, well, sure. First, she says, where am I? She's like, they're like, you're at a Parker Industries facility, and she says, where's Miguel? And they're like, he's fine. She's like, what do you recall? And she remembers the restaurant. They're like, there was an explosion. You'll be fine. And she says, and the baby? And they said, the baby's fine too. We didn't even know you were pregnant until we ran the full blood scan. And they said, just rest. And the nurse is like, oh, we're going to make a call. And the doctor says, yeah, well, I'll call Mr. Parker. And she says, what about Mr. O'Hara? And he says, Mr. Parker was quite specific. He wants all news regarding Tempest coming through him. And then the nurse says, when are you going to tell her? And the doctor's like, you mean about, yes. And the doctor says, Doris, she just came out of a coma that she was never expected to wake from, and she found out her baby is all right. That's all good news. This is really not the time to tell her that she'll never walk again.
Bum, bum, bum.
Mm-hmm.
So Tempest will never walk again?
Yeah.
Aww,
supposedly.
That's sad.
So back at the
except of course, it is the Marvel Universe, so
yeah,
Yeah.
But back at Chicago at the expo, more familiar faces. It's Tyler Stone and Liz Osborne.
Mm-hmm.
Stone has a drink that a waitress gives him, which it looks like that same mysterious woman. But then Miguel and everyone else lands at the airport. But then the Fist interrupts. I guess their leader looks like a woman in like a red and black outfit. She has like a full helmet on. She says, "Greetings, United States. We have taken this opportunity to interrupt your TV programs to inform you that you are at war with us, the Fist. Who are we? We are Americans. Uh-oh. Yeah, we are Americans, genuine Americans, people who remember what this country was founded on. Freedom from religion, freedom to live and breathe and prosper as your own ingenuity allowed you to achieve. But almost from the moment we set foot here, we were unable to live up to the aspirations of our founding. We used religion to beat down beliefs that we did not agree with, and we do that to this day. We have made agreements with the natives and then refused to honor them, pursuing them almost into extinction, just as our leaders make and retract promises to this day. A handful of the rich control the lives of millions of the poor. Wealth is not equally distributed. Opportunities are few and far between. We dream so much, and we have achieved so little. America was a noble experiment, but it has failed. But as always the case when experiments, when they fail, they must be flushed away. We are the Fist, and the day we begin the destruction of this country. Let it begin in Chicago.
Actually, that's not what you do with a failed experiment. You actually note why it failed, because
Yes.
even a failed experiment gives you more data so that you can improve upon your experiment later. You know, I mean, they're not very good scientists, is all I'm saying, whoever these fist folks are.
So in the hospital, it looks like Raul's transform. Everyone who's infected looks like they're transformed, because everyone who was Raul and everyone at the expo who had a drink is infected. They're transforming into creatures or supposed to be zombies or something, but they're
Oh, zombies.
yeah. Then there's some woman, I guess, who's part of the fist. It almost looks like she's meditating, but then her eyes started to glow. So I don't know if she can control them.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but then Miguel, Captain America, and Elektra show up at the expo. Miguel and Captain America are like getting through the police to break in, and then Elektra just like disappears. But that's where the issue ends, with Captain America and Miguel facing down all the infected at the expo. But
sounds exciting.
Good issue. Thumbs up. All right.
Thumbs up.
And my last one on my own. My pick of the week.
Yay!
Clone Conspiracy number 3.
Ooh.
Did you get a chance to look at this at all, Charlie?
No, man. It has been so crazy. I've not had the chance. I barely had time to read my 4 books this week. You know, that's how bad it was.
Yeah.
But I've heard tell there's some amazing and startling revelation that no one except I think us several times suggested. So, well, we came close. I mean, I think we actually even called him out at one point. I'd have to go back over the old tapes, but
well, yeah, and there's a smaller part in here you might be interested in, but
ooh,
well,
okay, well,
all right. Starts at New headquarters. Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen are crawling through the ventilation shafts, it looks like, but they must have been discovered because the lizard is chasing them.
Oh, yes.
But they take him out, and Peter keeps asking Gwen, you know, why didn't you and Kane trust me, you know, to tell me what's going on? And she's not telling them. Oh, yeah, meanwhile, leading all the villains is the reanimated Captain Stacy. George Stacy.
Yay, Stacy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and it looks like Prowler's leading a team of villains, and boy, they're digging to the bottom of it. They brought back every dead villain, because we see a Green Goblin here, and he says, because Prowler's like calling all them on the radio, and the Green Goblin says Hamilton here. So they pulled out the Bart Hamilton Green Goblin.
Yeah, well, he said every person who has died at your hands, I have returned them to life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, really? You know, some of these people probably might have been better off dead. Just saying.
So,
like that guy Otto killed, who was like all kinds of crazy, you know.
So then, at Horizon University, we see Scarlet. Kane's working with the Horizon staff there, including Miss Marconi. They have the quote unquote real Gwen there, and she's looking for her pills.
Yeah, otherwise she's just gonna wind up a couple eyeballs like that other guy.
Yeah, and Kane says, "We'll give her a pill," and Marconi says, "We can't. We're running low, and we still don't know what's in these pills. We can't replicate them yet." And Kane says, "Well, then give her half a dose. Anything. If you don't, her cells and he says her cells are going to destabilize, and she's going to become contagious with the carrion virus."
Ooh.
Which he kind of takes off. Yeah, he takes off his shirt, and Miss Marconi says, "Wait, are you contagious?" And he says, "No, I'm one of the Jackal's original clones. We're a sturdier bunch."
Yay.
Yeah, and then Marconi and the rest of the
we'll get into why the next bunch are inferior.
Yeah, but then Miss Marconi's like, "You idiot." She says, "Why didn't you tell us sooner? You might be the key to a cure."
If only we had the brilliance of an Otto Octavius here.
But then the staff at Horizon, they call I guess a police detective they know, but guess whose payroll she's on, Charlie?
I'm guessing New You.
Yeah, because she's taking one of her magic pills.
Yep.
Then back at New You, well, they show the police detective she calls the Jackal. He says, "No worries, I'll send someone over there. First, I have to make a stop." Then he's the Jackal talking to Electro. He says, "Take Rhino. Bring me back my Gwen. Try not to electrocute anyone this time." He says, "Stay on message. I'm about bringing people back from the dead." Uh, and then one of the Miles Warncliffe says, "Boss, we're behind schedule. The big meeting." And the Jackal says, remember when being a mad scientist was about science? Now it's all meetings, meetings, meetings. This is what you get when you try to remake the world into a better place."
Poor Jackal.
Because it looks like we says he has people from the FDA, armed forces, media moguls, and formerly dead spouses. Because Jameson's sitting there with his wife. He says more new U factories, less government oversight, and free procedures to fallen soldiers. I just know you can sell the public on that, Mr. Jameson. And then he says, "Of course, Warren." He must think it's Miles Warren. He says, "Of course, Warren, but I." And he says, "There's a pesky but." He says, "You want me to raise your father from the grave, right?" And Jameson's like, "You promised." He says, "So greedy. I've given you your foster daughter back and your second wife." He's like, "What? Want your first wife back too?" And Marley goes, "Hey." And he says, "Meeting adjourned." He goes in the other room where your old buddy Otto's at.
Good old Otto.
And it looks like he's growing something, Charlie, and maybe another body, perhaps for himself. Because he says, "You see this? A proto-clone, the next evolution in host bodies. Stronger, better developed, ready to be imprinted." So I'm thinking,
No, one hopes so, and he can certainly figure out the problem that caused these second tier clones of this current Jackal to fail, since he's had to deal with that problem before. Because as we've said, it seems like everybody else can do this cloning thing except for this guy. Because it's not like there aren't a lot of clones throughout the Marvel universe right now, but it's like this guy seems to have a problem with it. Miles Warren wasn't that good at it to start with, and this other guy, who may be Miles Warren, we'll see in a few minutes. Likewise.
But yeah, so
it's even worse at it.
The Jackal's telling Otto. He says, "We've been infiltrated," and Otto says, "Parker and the girl, kill them, bring them back, then give them your pills. Problem solved." And the Jackal says, "Then he would be an enslaved ally. No, I want Parker to come to me willingly." And Otto says, "Impossible. I've been in his head. He'd never turn to your side." And the Jackal says, "Oh, Otto, anyone can be moved with the right leverage. And soon I'll have exactly what he most wants."
Bum, bum, bum.
So back to Peter and Gwen. He gives her one of his web shooters. He said, "There's no way we should have been able to get away from all those bad guys. I think Prowler gave us an assist back there." And she says, "What? I wasn't the only one undercover?" And he says, "I have no idea about either of you. Why all the secret?" Again, he's like, "Why all the secrets?" And then she gets a call from Kane, and he says, "Can't talk. Horizon under attack. Rhino and Electro." So Spider-Man and Gwen swing off the Horizon. And of course, yeah, they're under attack. Rhino busts through the wall, and he says, "We get what the Master wants, and we get out." And Electro says, "Way to take all the fun out of it." He says, and she goes for the real Gwen. She goes, "Come on, Blondie. The boss man wants you and your go-go boots back home." So the Horizon people are trying to hold them off. But they get out with Gwen, but Marconi makes them take her with her. She says, "I'm a scientist. I've been studying everything in your drug, and I know how big of a problem you've got." So the real Gwen calls and said, "Yeah, we're coming back, and we have a guest." And that's when Peter and Spider Gwen get back too late, and he keeps asking her, "Why wouldn't you people, why didn't you and Kane tell me what was going on?" And what?
What?
What was that? I thought you
Oh,
said
I didn't
something.
say anything. No.
Okay. Okay. So she's like, "Oh, you're so different from the Peter Parker in my world with all this money and everything."
Thanks, Otto.
And but he keeps pressing her about why didn't they tell him, and she says, "You want to know the ugly truth? We've seen this go down on a dozen worlds, and every time you join up with the Jackal." And he says, "No, never. I don't believe it." And so they talk to the Horizon people, and they kind of pull them aside, and they say, "Yeah, they took Miss Marconi and Scarlet Spider." He's like, but they're like, "You can't go to the authorities. It appears they're in on it. There's no telling how far this conspiracy goes."
Bum, bum, bum.
So they're coming up with a plan, and then guess who shows up, Charlie? Wilson
Who
Fisk.
shows up? Wilson.
Fisk. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And what does he have to say?
He has some info on the Jackal. He says, he says, "I know who's been disturbing the graves," and he said the Jackal will be meeting with them in an hour. This folder contains the location of that meeting. Take it, and the Jackal is yours, and then you will owe me a favor. And Spider-Man says, "No, he cloned your wife. I've seen a clone of your son, the Rose. He messed with your family, Fisk. You want Miles Warren as badly as I do. If I take that file from you and bring down the Jackal, you, the kingpin of crime, owe me." And the Kingpin's just like, "Take it."
Yeah, well, there you go.
So he does.
Yeah.
So and he says, "Ready," and Gwen says, "Wait, we stick to the plan. Save Kane and Anna." And he says, "No, you can do that. This is my one chance to get the Jackal and end this." He says, "Trust me." So then the Jackal's meeting with the grave robbers at an airstrip, and they're saying, and the grave robbers are saying that how they're like, "You never met with us before, in person before," and they're like, "And what's with this body? The guy inside, he's a nobody." And the Jackal says, "He was important to me, Mr. Hare." And the guys were like, "Maybe you shouldn't have come alone." And they hear, "He didn't," and it's Spider-Man riding up on his spider cycle.
Bum, bum, bum.
Funny, he shoots impact webs at them, but the Jackal dodges very artfully. He's like, "Spider-Man, there you are.
As if he
Thanks.
had some sense it was coming.
Yeah." And the Jackal's like, "Thanks. I was just about to deal with these men myself." And Spider-Man's like, "Stop it. I've had it with you, Warren. No more playing around." And the Jackal says, "Really? It's been a while since my high school days, but this feels an awful lot like dodgeball, Mr. Parker." And Spider-Man's like, "Shut up." And the Jackal's like, "Is this about your secret identity? Don't worry. Both of those men appear unconscious. And besides, I enjoy being one of the few who knows who's under that mask. It gives me an advantage when..." Spider-Man's like, "What? When messing with me, turning my life upside down, bringing my loved ones and my worst enemies back from the dead, all for sick kicks?" And the Jackal says, "No, it's not like that at all. If you just listen." And Spider-Man's like, "No, I've had enough." And says, "Right here, right now." And then the Jackal kind of pushes them away. And Spider-Man says, "No, that's not possible. You've never been this strong, this fast." And the Jackal says, "I'm no stronger or faster than you are." And Spider-Man says, "But you're just some crazy mad scientist in a stupid red suit." And the Jackal puts his hand on the mask and says, "Please, Peter, this is darker than red. It's more of a scarlet. It's
Wink,
me, Peter.
wink.
It's me, Peter, Ben Riley, your brother from another blood cell." And Peter's like, no, it can't be. And Ben says, it's the brown hair, right? I let my roots grow out. And he says, no, you're dead. You're dissolved. And Ben says, I told you, the new you process is more advanced than cloning. It can restore anyone with all their memories intact. I remember it burning away in your arms. If I come back from that, imagine the possibilities with your help. And here we go, Charlie. You think that's shocking? He says, with Parker Industries resources, we could go worldwide. You never want anyone to die. I'm offering you something better. Everyone gets to live. Anyone we've ever lost, no matter how long ago, no one is off limits, even him. He's standing next to the coffin, Charlie. The man in here is my gift to you. Join me, and together we'll bring back Uncle Ben.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah.
So one Ben's back, and he's offering another Ben.
Yeah. But you see that. But this is why the clones are failing, because he's using that inferior Parker brain. You know.
Well, here's my question. He can't be. I mean, the real Jackal has to be out there somewhere, right? Because, I mean, Ben Reilly remembers dying and crumbling the dust. So if New You brought him back, who used New You to bring him back?
Well, exactly. Well, I'm guessing, basically, Warren brought him back, and then Scarlet Spider killed Warren. And or at least one current variation on Warren or something, and then took it over. But because of his inferior Parker brain, he cannot manage the complexities of the cloning thing. So Warren's already lousy clones were exacerbated by his incompetent inferior Parker mind. Which is why Otto is there to say, God, people have been cloning people since the 1940s, for goodness sakes. This is not new technology, Warren. Really, it's not. It's like Hitler's got like 8 clones running around the Marvel Universe right now, and you can't make one that can last. Very embarrassing, Warren. Very embarrassed.
So,
I mean, I don't know had these problems with his clones.
I know, but like I said, I love this as my pick of the week. But Dan Slott, please don't make Ben Reilly a villain, or at least turn him around in the end, please.
Yeah, well, you know what? Phil, the line between a hero and a villain is always very slim, because in both cases, they're people who say, I am the one who knows what's best for the world. I'm the one who will make my own law and make my own rules. Doesn't matter what society says. It doesn't matter what the law says. It's what I want and what will I make happen. So he was a villain the minute he put on that mask. Now he's just maybe being a little bit more cruel in his villainy. Okay. And since that was your pick of the week, let me go to my pick of the week. Champions number 3. And as I told you earlier, this Mark Waid fella, I think he's got a career in comic books. Yeah, he seems to really get how comic books should be written. Yeah, very, very powerful, very moving story. We open up. The first image we get is books with, I guess that's supposed to be Arabic lettering on it, and blood over the books, or some black stuff, which we will assume is blood. Actually, no, it is red. So yeah, we're gonna assume that's blood. Then we cut to the Champions intro page by Mark Waid and Humberto Ramos. And then the first Champions image we get is Hulk and Viv kissing. Wow, chicka, wow, wow. Mm-hmm. And everyone gathers together and they're like, what the heck? And Hulk says, what? And Viv turns to him and says, I had earlier stated that I was curious about how a kiss from a boy might affect my neuroreceptors. And they go, and And she goes, not significantly. And of course, Spider-Man and Nova sort of giggle at that. And then Viv says, perhaps I should try a different gender. And Ms. Marvel pretty much immediately shuts it down. It's like, yeah, not tonight. And then you see basically Hulk being all sad. I mean, he's playing it off like, hey, man, whatever. But they keep on cutting to his like his thought bubbles of pictures, and it's like his heart shattering, and Viv's feet walking all over his heart and everything like that. And they come to what and meanwhile Viv says, I've been looking for these images. I find this one, women and girls, and Shazad being attacked by militants for learning. And they ask if the taco truck can fly them there, and then Hulk shows that he has another, even better vehicle, which then makes Spider-Man annoyed because he realizes he didn't have to sleep on the ground. He could have been sleeping in this new fancy vehicle. There's no seat for Cyclops, but he's cool with that. And we get into this argument between Ms. Marvel and Amadeus about who should be the leader. And Nova basically looks at Spider-Man and says, watch this. What about Cyclops? He led the X-Men. He has the experience. And they kind of dismiss it, but then they say, let's go deal with this thing, and they all explain why they have. I was very worried about this issue. I'm going to be honest with you, because this whole idea, it seemed like this could really fall apart and become very heavy-handed, or even worse, just very, hey, we're the superheroes, we're going to save the day kind of thing. Basically being everything they didn't want it to be. But we see them, defending these schoolgirls as they're about to get attacked. But then they talk to one of the girls and they make this point about how, we're not going to run. We're not going to go away because we need to stand up to them. And we can't have you guys champions saving us because the world can't be saying we're reliant on the Americans and their superheroes to solve all our problems. So they come up with this really cool plan. The bad guys are coming to the town square to deal with them. We see the champions tunneling underneath them. And as they start to say, disperse, we're going to kill everybody, the champions cue it, and the ground underneath the militants collapses, and they go underground, and the champions basically start. I'm guessing, this is like this weird kind of question here. It's like, do they incapacitate them, or do they straight up murderize them? We're going to assume they're incapacitating, but really it seems like me that this would be the time to murderize people, These are very horrible, violent, vicious thugs who you really went out of your way to explain exactly how evil and violent they are. But we're going to gloss over how many people got simply thwarted and would never admit to what they were destroyed by, and those who got actually straight up murderized. The day ends. We see that Kamala paints a C on all the girls because they are now champions as well. We will all, we will keep, we'll make sure that this video gets out there, that people know you're not afraid. Basically, it's a very moving thing. And honestly, the speeches the girls are giving are just so powerful, so well. So, it's just really just such great emotion throughout it. It's just a fantastic book. So well written, so intelligent. Like I said, this Mark Waid kid, I think he's got a career in comic books. And as the one girl, I believe they said her name is Namia. She's saying to the captured evil guy, you are the heretic. We are the ones made strong by our God. You think We are whimpering little girls. We are warriors, as she spits in their face. And Amal is a badass, is what Ms. Marvel says. And at 2 points, like her and Spider-Man say, that they nominate her for leader, but who should be leader of this girl, this Amal girl? She would be a fantastic leader. And she is. She's a leader of people. Yay. We then get them flying back saying, they say, I want to do more. Kamal says, I want to do more. Amadeus says, we all want to do more. Maybe we can figure out how without causing an international incident. Which was one of the things I was really worried about in this one too. It says, and Spider-Man says, do we need to formally elect a leader to make that call? And of course, Kamala and Amadeus says, I am the, and Nova says, oh God, make it stop. It says, Viv, who would you vote for? It says, based on experience, Cyclops. And Cyclops says, flattering. Says, you got pulled from years in the past. You led the X-Men for about 5 minutes. Who'd you go up against? Who'd you take them up against, big man? And he goes, Vanisher, Blob, Eunice, Magneto, Submariner. Says, you have to admit, I admit nothing. Amadeus. I will keep us out of danger. And then, of course, a missile hits them and blows up the thing. Fathum. And that was the final issue of Champions. Sadly, I'm sure they all died after that clear ending where their truck blew up. But a good 3-issue run. We're very glad the Champions were around. Gonna miss Kamala and Amadeus. I'm surprised they didn't even kill them off in their own book. So, no. Big thumbs, big thumbs up. This was definitely my pick of the week. This is a fantastic book. And you're definitely getting that. I mean, I tell you, Amadeus, he is so going to go evil. You watch him and the Submariner are going to team up. Because first we have him being a jerk to everybody, then we have his heart getting broken by Viv. It's all there, man. It's all there. He is so going to turn traitor. But yeah, absolutely my pick of the week. Just a fantastic book. Okay, and that brings us to our books together, Phil.
Do you want to do the other Mark Waid book this week, Avengers #2?
Certainly. Do you want to give the review on
that? Sure. Basically open up with the event in Limbo.
Yes. Limbo.
Mm-hmm. Basically, the only one on Earth who can save them is Hercules.
Mm-hmm. Who gets super awesome in this book, by the way. So loving what Mark's...
Oh, you liked him in this book?
Oh, I've liked Hercules since his last book. I really think that they've finally found a groove for Hercules and him dealing with these ancient Roman gods. It is these people who are, these ancient heroes who are wandering around the earth still in their modern guises. It is beautiful. It is brilliant how they did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, apparently Janet Yellen is is an oracle.
So Kang and all the different versions of Kang are basically looking for the infant Kang.
Mm-hmm.
And Hercules attempts to get in their way, but
oh yeah, but the oracle gives
the event
gives him something.
Oh, the pendant, yeah, that. Yeah, so that way if the Avengers are close to the pendant, they can come out of limbo for a short time.
Yep.
So and
again, we get a great thing with Hercules here, where basically the Scarlet Centurion is like, "I will suck 2 centuries from you," ha ha ha, and Hercules is like, "Yeah." I'm an Olympian god. A century, please. I will live to see the sun go cold. I have centuries to spare. Like I said, his treatment of Hercules is fantastic.
But yeah, yeah, it's just I love this issue. The ending was I was just like, wait, so why is the new Wasp the only one who can do it?
Because she is the least skilled at fighting. She's like the youngest person, and she also has, of course, the ability to hide very well. So basically, what they're saying is you're not a powerhouse, and you have the best ability to avoid detection. So they send her to deal with all of this, because she's the best person to do it. Of the people that are there, everyone else is something of a powerhouse, with the exception of Captain America. Oh, Spider-Man. I killed you once already today, Spider-Man. I'm getting rather good at it. And she goes off to somewhere town. To the future. Bum, bum, bum.
Well, since we're talking Mark Waid books, you said you heard the interview with him. What did you think of his thoughts on Kang?
Oh, I really, it was interesting. It was interesting that and I don't want to spoil it, but definitely read it. You go to, and I think he went along with it when you went to Mob Boss. But when he said, he loves to conquer, not to rule, I immediately thought of Alexander the Great. Who was another man who loved to conquer, who likewise just would set up his generals to run. And what strikes me as interesting, what I'm looking forward to in this, and the way he describes it, is you realize that if he's setting up all these, generals and consigliaries to run his empire for him, in some of these empires, these will be ruled by men who are just and fair. It's like going to be a hodgepodge. Some places it's ruled by cruel dictators, where the name of Kang is spoken in hushed whispers and spat when no one is looking. And in others, it's like, oh, glorious Kang, who has brought the future to our world and made our lives wonderful. Because it's going to be dependent on these other guys who are running his empire, and in each empire, it's going to be a little bit different. So so as an example, if he had come to Earth and taken over Earth, but, put Captain America in charge as his general, then, it might be a pretty nice place to live, It's all fascinating, yeah, no, I really liked his thoughts on it, and I don't want to give it away because, man, you guys got to listen to it. It is such a great interview, and listen to both, the DC and the Marvel interview, because it's Phil's own personal DC Marvel versus DC crossover.
Yeah, that's right. The Marvel half is here on Enough Said, and if you want the DC half, you have to download it from either the Channel 52 podcast or the Legends of DC podcast.
And you'll find out what costume the Flash is wearing now.
Hey, a lot of the stuff that's on the Flash TV show now they were influenced by Mark Waid.
Oh, very much so. Well, Mark Waid has been a very influential writer. There's no denying it.
Oh yeah. But of course, this one was a big thumbs up for me. What did you think?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. Honestly, this was a great week for Marvel books for me. I say that every week because I really love these books, but I will say, like, my lowest rated book I got was Thor, and that was still 4 stars. This is really great books all around. I really loved every single one. They all had something great and interesting and unique to them. Whether it was the visualistic style of slapstick, or the move, the power. I mean, I was moved to tears reading the Champions. And Avengers is, it's just a great superhero book. It is just great. I love what they did with Hercules, and I mean, just everything has been fantastic. And then Thor is also, like I said, honestly, Thor really is. I mean, on a lot of levels, it's a great book. The only reason I don't give it more is because I kind of felt it was a little bit. I don't want to say basic, but it was like, okay. So to open it up, we open up where we last left it off with with Thor the self pitying. We have Beta Ray Bill basically saying, "Take the hammer." You must have this hammer. You need to be Thor, and he's like, "I'm not Thor anymore," and yada yada yada. They say, "Well, who stole Asgard?" Says, "Who do you think could possibly steal Asgard?" And then the spaceships come and say, obviously these guys. Bash, bash, boom. And they know who stole Asgard, but we don't know yet because we got to watch the fight. And of course, we get the hammer and the goat and Beta Ray Bill and his hammer. And we see the person who has in his collection of things, one of his most prized possessions, a bomb. That was the last thing created by this extinct race. It's the only evidence that that race ever existed. But I'm gonna throw it out the bay doors because there's something I want more. And who this character is, who we'll find out in a minute, it is a little weird how cavalier he is being with a lot of his possessions right now. I mean, not even ones that he's got like two of. It's not like he's got like, I got my Mylar copy and then one I allow myself to read. And we see Thor's dream where he's falling into the earth, buried by hammers that are whispering at him, whisper, 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 whisper. Because he says he hasn't slept since since they tell you how long it's been since he lost the hammer, and they said it was like 8 months ago or 9 months ago. 9 months, 3 weeks, 4 days, and 7 hours ago. And I have not slept because I was afraid of what I would dream of. And of course, when he dreams, he's being buried. And I believe, is that the God Butcher he's facing there? Who, because he says,
what it looks like.
What if they really are better off without us? Thor wondered in fear, even as he swung his mighty hammer. What if a godless age is what they deserve? What if Gore isn't a madman at all? Gods help us. What if he's... Rah! And then he wakes up, got a little shock collar around his neck, and we see who our villain of the piece is, Phil. Who's our villain?
Benicio del Toro. I mean, the Collector.
Yes. Was it Tanelier? Whatever. Tanelier Tavan, yes. Who is older than most gods and elder of the universe and all this stuff. And he brought him to old Asgard. But it's like, I didn't, yes, I got it, but I really didn't care about Asgard. I wanted the magic hammer. Bum, bum, bum. And he says, let me show you what happens when someone tries to lift it. And this is like, this isn't just, we can't lift it. The hammer is basically frying people who are trying to lift it, which is a little more. Tanelier even says, I tried to lift it. And he says, so what's the trick? What's the trick? Sort of a replay of that scene in Age of Ultron, What how do you lift? And it says, you have to be worthy. And it says, who is more worthy than me? There is nothing in this universe I do not own. And then he gets the last child of this extinct race. The only, I'm going to shoot him. Which is like, okay. Again, just being way too cavalier with like all these possessions. But, I guess he has so many he doesn't care anymore. But, aren't you, like, as a collector, shouldn't you want to save these things? But he's using that as his bargaining chip to Thor, saying, I will kill the child if you don't tell me how to lift the hammer. And then, what happens, Phil?
Thor goes to the hammer and he gets these images of the ultimate Thor.
Well, no. Well, first, what happens is the hammer acts without him. Hammer shoots the lightning bolts. The hammer disables the guards, frees Thor, and he goes towards it. I believe, does he touch it? No, I don't think he actually touches it, but it gives him the images of the ultimate universe, of what it endured, and then before he can grab it, he gets shot by Tenelaer, and then I say, put him in chains and leave the body where he can see it. He says, what body, master? Shoots the kid. Says, the hammer will be mine, Odin's son, mine and no one else's. Bum, bum, bum. And then this I loved. We see Earth. We see the Triskelion. We see a being, we don't know who, clothed in dark robes, says, I need your help. This is interesting since I am the one who would appear to be in need of assistance. I know your power. I know this cell won't hold you long, but you haven't come to offer me my freedom. I would if I could, but I find myself weakened from recent events. It took all my power just to see you. So you cannot. One second. Says, so you cannot help me. Come on. So you cannot help me. You cannot even help yourself. What exactly do you have to offer me? Says, what do you wish? A tribute. And what sort of tribute does Thanos desire? I know just the thing. To be continued. Bum, bum, bum. So, don't know what happens next. It'll be awesome. And lo, there came Ask Me a Question, our new Thor Letters page. Yes. We love it. Goats. Yes. It was a great book. Like I said, the only thing that I think, I don't even want to say it's like it's basic. It's just that, it was a great book. I really don't have a real negative. I think it didn't move me to tears in its emotion. And I guess that is its one sin. It wasn't quite as good as everything else, but it was still a fantastic book. Very easily could have been a pick of the week any other week. But we get that a lot nowadays, Mm-hmm. Marvel is firing on all cylinders, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No annoying Frankensteins here. That's all I got to say.
All right, is that all?
That's all I got, man. That was all the books. I only got 4 this week.
All right. Well, if you want to send us reviews of believe it or not, there are books we don't get to. So if you want to be a Stockton Pioneer or Stockton, let us know if you want to join us or do your own separate review. But email us, marvelroundup@gmail.com. On Facebook, we're facebook.com/allnewmarvelroundup. Twitter is @Marvel_Roundup. And even on Instagram, we are Marvel Roundup. And Charlie, where can people find you?
Well, you can always find me in that old-fashioned email way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on Twitters in that way that our Maz and Paz once did. Or not Maz and... anyway. The way the hip young kids do nowadays. That's the word I was looking for. @Charlie Esser. That's CharlieESSER. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality.
All right, and as for me, you can always discuss Marvel and even DC with me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am @nightwingpdp. And check me out on the DC side of things on the Legends of Tomorrow with me and Charlie and a bunch of our friends, Before the Bat, and even on Channel 52, doing this same podcast for the DC books with Miss Little's Hellfire.
Yay!
All right, well, that... There was a good bit of books. For me, there might be a little more next week. I'm not sure, but come back next week. Join me and Charlie and all our friends like Stockton. But until then, keep your friends close and your formerly dead clones closer. Good night.
Good night.